Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this episode of Punchin Tickets. I am Jake Kalish, your host, alongside my co-host, Nick Dini. Nick, what's going on, my man?
Jakey. Big day for the pod. Groundbreaking day for the pod. We're excited. We can't wait to bring in our first guest. One of our best friends, one of our guys that when I think of my minor league journey, I think of a couple people along the way that have really gone each step of the way, with you being one of them, and our first guest who is still doing it at a high level, currently with the Chicago White Sox in his hometown, Nicky Lopez. Nicky, thank you.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
My guys.
We're fired up to have
My
you.
guys.
How's everything going?
Thank you for having me. Everything's good. We're just kind of that in the middle of All-Star break, so I think we start playing tomorrow. But no, everything's good, man. Just
at home?
Riding the wave. Yeah, I'm home right now, and then we have a flight going to Kansas City at 3.
And just
Beautiful.
like that, the All-Star break has come and gone. Now it's time for the second stretch. Going back to Kansas City, where all of us where our relationships started to blossom.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go back. I always see security guards and coaches and staff members there. So it was my first time back was this year. I actually had a pretty crazy first month. Actually, first 2 weeks of the big leagues or big league season. Came back full circle. Now I'm with the White Sox, and then my first 2 teams that I've really played was we opened up against Detroit, but then we had the Braves, and then first trip was to Kansas City. So it was kind of cool to see the 2 teams that I played with right off the bat.
That is crazy how right off the bat it's 2 teams that you were with last year, both of them.
Last year.
Yeah, that's a crazy start and kind of a good segue into let's just jump right into it, right? So you are a Chicago guy, born and raised in Naperville, Chicago, attended Naperville High School, drafted by Kansas City, right? But before that, Creighton. So I want you to talk about your time in Omaha, because there's going to be times where we tie your connection to Omaha as it blends itself into the Royals.
Yeah, so I was, we had a family friend, Mike Gerber. I don't know if anybody knows Mike Gerber. He played outfield for Giants, Rockies, kind of bounced around for a little bit. And then he was actually, he went to Creighton. So he was there for 3 years. I asked him, hey, how do you like Creighton? Me and David Gerber are really good friends. So we always thought, coming from Naperville, we're always we want to play together. We want to go to the same college together. And Creighton was interested in both of us. So weirdly enough, though, that weekend where I committed to Creighton, I wanted to play as a freshman, but that weekend where I committed to Creighton, I was actually supposed to go on an official visit to Wake Forest. That Wednesday, we got a call from Wake Forest and said, your transcripts haven't came in yet. We're not going to be able to do these, the visit until your transcripts are here. So we quickly scrambled and we're like, hey, why don't we just go on the official visit to Creighton? So we get to campus Thursday, and on Sunday we committed. I loved it that much. Didn't even get to go to Wake Forest to go and check it out. They said I had a good chance of playing as a freshman, and I ran with it.
You got to tell Wake Forest to figure out the admissions department. I missed out on
the Demon Deacons.
I'll be fine over here with the Jays, but you go ahead. But I mean, Omaha for all of us really kind of played a big part in our careers, and we spent some time together. But just kind of going back to touch on our relationship, all 3 of us. Nick had touched on it earlier. Just playing all our way ranks up through the system. I kind of want to go back to 2017 in Northwest Arkansas, where I had the pleasure of pitching with one of the best defensive infields I ever had. You obviously playing shortstop. Jack Lopez at third, and then Humberto Arteaga at second base. And I just kind of want to go into, where you kind of got that like innate ability to know where to be, like your instincts on the field, and just kind of like that prowess that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I can always remember, from high school. I mean, as a sophomore, I got called up to to varsity, and they DH'd for me. The head coach there was like, he didn't believe that young guys can hit. So as a sophomore, I literally just played the field. So I was just fielded until like later on in that year when we're about to go to state. And I went up and told him like, hey, I can hit too. And so I started hitting like the last part of high school, sophomore year of high school, and then obviously junior and senior year I did both. But I remember in high school I literally all I did was played the field, went and sat down in the the dugout, and then grabbed my glove and went right back out to the field.
Hey, Coach, I can swing too, by the way. I don't know if I have a bat in my
I own
bag.
a bat.
Yeah. But that's crazy. And I kind of wanted to jump in there because you brought up two good points that I think are extremely important. You talked about the importance for you in playing as a freshman. And I think that ties into kind of what Jake is talking about in that prowess and that just feel for the game that you had. Because like what always stood out to me, right? Like watching you defend, watching you play the game of baseball has always been something that I've marveled at. And I thought you are kind of like a breath of fresh air in the sense of like, if you were a player in the 90s, you'd be like everyone's like favorite player because you just do everything that it takes to win baseball games. But talking about that prowess that Jake and I are alluding to, and you being able to have like from your freshman year of college, and maybe instead of going to a bigger school or like a Power 5 school, you decide, you know what, I'm going to go to Creighton, and you get those 3 years of game, atmosphere and playing and that development day one showing up as a freshman. So talk about that importance, because I think sometimes people lose sight of what's actually important, and wearing the cool, gear coming home might seem awesome, but playing and gaining experience is actually what I think is going to carry a lot more kids further in their careers.
No, absolutely. I mean, there was between, Wake Forest, University of Illinois, I was really interested in, like you said, just like bigger name schools, and not a lot of people really. I mean, Creighton's a mid-major. It's a school that everyone knows about basketball. At that time, it was soccer that was really huge, and volleyball, and but like I said, they on the visit, they're like, you have a chance of playing as a freshman. Now it's one of those things you have to trust them and go in and put in work and take it, and not just come on campus and be like, hey, they're going to give me a starting job. I actually ended up starting as a third baseman that year. It was my first time ever playing third base. I get on campus. They had a sophomore at short. They had a junior who eventually got drafted, in Jake Peter, and third base was open. So I moved to third base, and that's kind of where I started learning how to field as well. Coach Service there is a defensive guru. He was Team USA's coach for defense for a long time. His actually nephew, Scott Service, the manager for the Mariners right now. But moving over to third, I had to learn how to use my legs a little bit more. I had to use angles, had to use my arm a little bit more, and I learned a ton as a freshman. And then sophomore year, I made that transition to short. But just kind of going in, and I could have wore University of Illinois on my chest, or Wake Forest playing in the ACC, and I could have done all that, but I chose a school that was transitioning from the Missouri Valley to the Big East, who's the best starter through 92, but I got to play as a freshman and got that exposure.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting how not only did you go to, mid-major, and then you also had to figure out a different position and go and be versatile. And that's something that, you've been able to do throughout your whole career. And I think that's a big reason why that when you get into on a team, people are just happy to have you around because you're willing to do whatever it takes to do. But I kind of wanted to go into your minor league career before we get everything that you've done at the big league level. And is there something that kind of stands out for you? Because I have something that I witnessed, but I want you to tell yours first, and then maybe I could jump in.
Stands out as far as like, what years and stuff that, I was there. Like, the biggest thing that actually stood out is when I got drafted, you are going to these cities that you've never even experienced before, never even seen, never even knew that they existed. So I found myself in Burlington, North Carolina, and I touched on that. The fastest Big East arm that I faced was probably 92 to 93. I played for the CPL, which was a Coastal Plains League, and my sophomore going into my junior year, I faced, I think it was someone on Team USA that was throwing 96. And then I was like, okay, that's the fastest I've ever seen, 95, 96. And I'm like, all right. But you didn't really like see that on a daily basis in the Big East. And then I am playing in Burlington, North Carolina. I don't know how many people are even in that town. And then I'm seeing some guy on the mound throwing 101 from a guy from Dominican. I'm like, this is crazy. And I didn't see that jump until I got to AA. AA was when I started seeing, that when it started being like, okay, you can kind of sniff the big leagues. You can kind of, you know that these guys are all going to probably be the next wave or have a chance of being the next wave. So I think that was the biggest thing that stood out was those two jumps from college to pro ball, and then from single A to AA. You guys know, as when you're in AAA, it's a lot more, junk guys that are going up and down, trying to still hang on. But AA is when you get all those prospects that are top notch.
And it's funny you said. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say funny in AA because what I remember seeing something that happened in AA that stood out to me. You hit for the cycle when we were in Tulsa. I happened to be pitching, so I remember it very clearly. But I think that same day, like the bat dog that was there, like ran out to shortstop to like say hello to you. And it almost seemed to me as if it was like a Benny the Jet Rodriguez moment. It's like we all knew like Nicky's going to go out and play bigger and better things. Right? It was just hilarious. It was also super impressive.
That went viral because it was that German Shepherd went loose because it was following the ball that was thrown in between innings. And it started running at me. So I was like, I dropped the ball right in front of me and grabbed the leash. But I do remember that day. I remember basically everything about it. Because then the next at bat, I came back up and I got a single. So I was like 5 for 5. I hit the cycle in order. And then all I can remember is afterwards, the festivities in the locker room. And it was great. It was a great day.
Yeah, great day.
Wait, you hit for it in order?
It was in order. I started single, double, triple, and then a home run.
Wow, that's sick. I didn't realize that was in order.
Hey, did we have that pizza place beforehand? What was that place in Tulsa called right next door?
Elgin Park.
Elgin Park.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Elgin Park had cycles in it, I guess.
We abused that place.
Elgin Park had cycles in it. Your co-host actually hit 2 pumps that game too. That was a good day.
That was a great day.
But then I took it to, what was the casino there in Tulsa? Was it the Hard Rock?
There was a Hard Rock. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, then I took it to the Hard Rock and got abused, I think.
You had to Annie to play, didn't you? Like you had to like.
That was the casino sucks.
Yeah, and the other one was like the Two Rivers or the Wind River or something. That was the other one.
Yeah,
it
was whatever.
That was a tough trip on the Tulsa gambling tour. But what can you do?
Is that a sleepy though? Is that like kind of like a sleeper city?
Sleeper.
Oh, I love Tulsa.
I love Tulsa. Yeah. I mean, dude, great ballpark. You could walk to the field. There's food around. Like that's like when you think of when I think of the minor league checklist, right? It's like where does it start? Like the hotel. We stayed in the A loft, like it was sick.
Yeah, which is great.
Right? Great hotel. You could walk to the ballpark, which is huge. You didn't have to wait for the bus after the game. You want to get to the ballpark early. whatever, you're on your own time. Just make sure you're there for where you have to be, when you have to be there. There's good food around. You could go get a beer after the game anywhere and walk there, right?
Yeah.
And the ballpark's good.
Yeah, and I vividly remember that I called Sydney, and I was like pumped up that there was a couch in my room. Like,
yes,
that was like the first room that I was like, this is big.
Yeah,
like,
no, the couch. Double A is like you were alluding to, and I was going to talk about. Double A is like really, like you said, like you kind of start sniffing the big leagues, right? Like you're not carrying your stuff onto the bus, like the clubbies are bringing your stuff on the bus. Like there's little nuanced things that you're like, oh shit, I don't have to do this. Like this is how this goes. You know what I mean? And like one of them, how you talked about was, you know, kind of the type of player, like in AAA. I just kind of wanted to get people to dive into, you know, the type of player where AAA, you're getting your more polished players that they, you know, they're still developing in a sense, but they're more of like, this is who they are. Like the guys that are doing it are going to get opportunity. The guys that aren't, won't. But Double A, you have absolute flamethrowers who are still trying to figure it out. I'm talking some of the most uncomfortable at-bats I've ever had came in Double A with dudes throwing 100 and like control problems.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Do you remember the kid's name from Seattle, from Little Rock? What was his name? That big Latin. He is the big Latin pitcher. He threw 1 million. Was it like?
I was going to bring up another one, but I can't think of his name.
Like Thiago Vera or something.
That sounds very right.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Sounds
like,
right. He's in the big leagues now, I think, right?
I think he's still. I think he's still pitching.
I think it might be. I remember facing, you know, two guys that actually like stick out to me is, well, the first time I faced AJ Puck, which was you know, a big lefty. Forrest Whitley. Do you remember Forrest Whitley?
Forrest Whitley. Yep.
He, you know, I had a banger, was throwing like 97, 98, but it was one of those that the development was kind of slower. And I remember facing him in Double A. I'm like, man, if this guy finds it, like he's gonna be nasty. And then I remember facing Walker Buehler. It was in Northwest.
Yeah.
And we have like shadows and everything, and I'm like, this guy's the real deal.
You did not want at bats in Northwest in the first 3 innings.
No.
You did, like, that was the time where you on the mound, Jakey, it's like, all right, like sinkers, middle, like let's cut outs.
Yeah, let's get through these three as quick as we can.
Let me try to hit with the hospital windows in center field.
Dude, so tough. But like those guys, dude, they have different heaters. Like that's what I remember. Like that's what Bueller like stood out, right? It's like a lot of like guys have good. Everybody has something that they do well, right? Like you find your stock righties here and there, but like when you see those guys that now you see like having a ton of success, making a ton of money at the big league level, like the fastball stands out. Like the heater's just different. Like that, he was just like whippy as hell, and the ball just was on you. Like that's like vividly what I remember. And Puck was different, right? Because he threw, they both threw hard, but Puck was long and like it was. You felt like you were trying to hit from 50 feet. That was a tough AB.
In Midland too, where it's like 1 billion degrees.
Yeah,
oh my
exactly.
God. Yeah.
Gross.
Exactly.
But,
yeah, that was tough there. But yeah, dude, that's kind of my memory of Double A too, and that's something that stands out for me. Like when I think of Nicky Lopez, and when I think of your ascension through the minor leagues, like that game in Tulsa, just kind of, you always were a guy that had a flair for the dramatic, right? Like it always felt like, seriously, it always felt like the bigger the game or like the higher the stakes, like you were getting the best Nicky Lopez, which brings me to this, which I think is one of the coolest things ever. And I don't think enough people know about it, but we alluded to the fact that you went to Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska. Now, Major League Baseball does these like tours throughout to where that you're seeing them play in the Mexican in Mexico and London. So they're kind of just taking the brand all over the place. And one thing that they did was that
19.
That was 19. That was 19.
Yeah. Right after the call, like a couple weeks after, right? You got called up?
And I remember that year because it was my first full season in AAA that I was starting, and I remember we started in Memphis, I think, for like 5 games or 4 games.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And I remember I went 0 for 20. I went 0 for 20. And this is like the big year. Like, oh, I'm going to make it big. I started 0 for 20, and I was like, man, this isn't going to happen. I was like, this is it.
I remember that.
I remember Pulley benched me, or not benched me. He's like, here, just like take a chill.
Take your breather day. I was like, just for the audience, like I always felt like I was kind of the Nicky, like, yo, everything is good, bro. You just keep doing what you're doing. Like I was kind of like, hey, I had like, you're good, dude. We're good. And then like he promptly goes on to hit 380 the rest of the year and makes his call up. But all right, so before we get to this story, I actually want you to talk about your call, like the actual moment that you got called up to the big leagues, because I remember we're in Des Moines, Iowa, right?
Oh yeah.
Mother's Day.
Take it away.
So, yeah, we were in Des Moines, Iowa. Pulley did a really good job of giving people off days. You know, you'd usually get, and for me, I would get 1 off day a week, and then whenever it lined up with another, like a team off day, I'd get that one. So we get to Des Moines, Iowa, and I believe it was, you know, Mother's Day was on a Sunday. Friday I was off. Right when we got in, Friday I was off, and I was like, okay, this is just a design off day. So I was just chilling, and Saturday I played. Sunday I see the lineup again, and I'm off again. So, and I'm like, you know, this is a big year. This is, you know, 2019. I'm feeling good. I'm hitting really, really well. And I remember going into his office. I was like, you know, what the fuck are we doing? And Pulley's like, you know, Pulley was like, wait, hold on. I probably came in a little hot, and I was just like, what are we doing? I was like, I just had an off day, and you know, it's Mother's Day. You know, I want to play. Like, why am I not playing? And you know, he made up some excuse that like I didn't get, because that whole weekend we were wearing pink or whatever, and he's made up some excuse that I didn't get hit with like a pink bat or some shit, and like I wasn't, I dogged it one of these plays or something.
Pulley fashion.
Yeah, Pulley fashion, and I'm like replaying the game in my head, and I'm like, I don't remember that. Like, I don't remember. And so that whole day, that whole game, I had to sit, I sat the bench. And because he didn't tell me that I was going up until after the game. So that whole day, I was like, maybe I'll get a pitch.
You were pissed.
I was pissed.
I knew. I want to say me and Jake knew.
I think
not
you guys
because
did.
Pulley told us. I was like, we would always try to play GM. Like, we would always try to play GM. I'm like, yo, Nicky's going to the big leagues. It's like the kid's hitting almost 400. Like, you take away the first couple of weeks, he's hitting probably mid 400s, like lighting the world on fire. And he gets a day off on Mother's Day. I'm like, this kid's going to the big leagues.
Yeah. For those that don't know, like when you get like an unregulated off day, it's typically because something like that's going to happen. You know, they don't want you to get hurt or something, you know, logistic wise. But you know, it was like, yeah, like something's up. Something's up.
Something's up.
I was blinded by that though. So I was like, I was pissed, and then that whole game I was pissed. I come into his office afterwards. He's like, grab your phone, and that's when I was like, grab my phone. And then he was just like, call your mom, and he's like, you're going to the big leagues, which was awesome, and it was obviously one of the best days of my life. And then made my debut against Texas.
So, like, from an outsider's perspective, like, not the person getting called up, like, just for the audience, one of the coolest things, especially somebody that is really, really close to you, like, you were the first one of our, like, friend group, I would say, like, guys that got called up. Mm-hmm. So, like, just from, like, being the guy that didn't get called up and watching one of your best friends get called up, like, I remember the moment, like, because it's like this, it's like a scene in a movie, right? Where somebody gets called into the office and everybody just kind of is aware of it and stops. And like, with you, like, you're such a friggin' likable dude by everybody that like when he called you into the office, it was like, all right, he's going to the big leagues. But like, we're sitting out there waiting. And in Iowa, the coach's office is like all the way in the back. So like you had to walk through this hallway to get into the clubhouse.
I remember that. Holy shit.
And I just remember you like walking with this like little kid smile coming out of that hall that you had to see. And we start like, you know, like celebrating with you, throwing shit on you. Like, dude, what an awesome day, man. And it was The way he
Awesome
set
day.
it up, like to be able to call your mom and share that moment, you know, that's a kid's dream, right? To be able to get to the big leagues, but also, you know, share it with your parents, the people that have been in your corner your whole life, and you owe everything to them. You know what I mean? So that
Right.
was awesome moment, especially like from an outsider, and as close as we were, it was a great day. And Jake, I want you to talk about, so
Oh, well, so yeah, dude, like you got called up, we leave. And then Nick and I think we're rooming together, or in the same room, or maybe you two are rooming together. I can't remember exactly, but I know that Nick and I were in the same room. And you came back to the hotel. And like, no, so we're sitting in the hotel room, and you come by like with all your stuff, and he's like, "Hey guys, like we're out of here, like dap you up, like congrats." You leave, and then like both of us kind of look at each other like, "Hey, like we're next," you know. And then like Nick takes like a big hit of his nicotine stick and like leans back, puts on that song, and like blows out a puff of smoke, and he's just like,
I didn't even know that. It's the first time I'm hearing the
I
story.
know. I know
dude,
you did
it's
it,
so
dude.
good.
You left. I started
it's
playing
so
that
good.
song. I'm just like, yo, we're still in this. Like, our boys going to the big leagues. I'm just like, gotta get there. Dude, it was
So close.
it was so funny, bro. It was so funny. And
that
I
is
don't
so
we never
great.
even told you that story, but we're sitting in the
It's such a good story.
hotel, like, good for Nicky, man. I'm so happy for
that
him.
is
And
so
then it's
great.
just like, Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. It was amazing, bro. It was so amazing. It was an amazing day. Jake, did you pitch that day?
No, I did not pitch. I don't know. I don't think I did pitch that day.
But
Wait
we
a
went
minute.
and had dinner
No,
with
no, no.
we went and had dinner with your parents post game, kind of to celebrate Mother's Day and Nicky's call up. Like it was just a good day. It was just it was an awesome day, and awesome to see one of your guys, you know, reach his lifelong dream and achieve that. And yeah, it was awesome, bro. And what I wanted, so now that we talked about that, I wanted to go to Kansas City going and playing one of these special event games, like right before the College World Series in Omaha. So you went to college in Omaha. You had all of this success as a Omaha Storm Chaser, and that was a big deal. Like the media was making a big deal, which it was, that, you know, you were coming back to, you know, your college roots and returning to Omaha. You get called up to the big leagues, and then just so happens that year that the Royals are playing the Detroit Tigers in this. Was it one game or two games that you guys played there?
It was one game.
One game. You're playing
Wow, this is weird.
Yes, you're playing this one game exhibition.
Yeah,
you're getting the start. Go ahead, take us through that day. Take us through that day.
It was a College World Series like kickoff game. It was you know like the College World Series, they have like the ceremony, and they team. So they They were doing that before our game. They had their opening ceremonies, and then they watched us play. So I remember like we were all around the field with other college teams out there. So they kind of incorporated our game into like the opening ceremonies. And yeah, like you said, I'm playing on my college stadium. I have a ton of coaches and staff members there. You know, Creighton's only a block away. And then, you know, AAA was a couple miles away, and it was kind of just full circle. And then, yeah, I just found myself playing, and I'm like, geez, this is wild. I don't think anybody can ever say that they've done this. And so it was pretty surreal for sure.
Well,
and Matt Boyd.
Go ahead.
It's like a couple weeks into the big leagues, and we're sitting here, nostalgia, and Matt Boyd, first homer. I mean, incredible, dude. So take us through that at bat. Like, if you got pitch for pitch, we'd love to hear it. If you know, just give us everything.
I remember it was a fastball, and actually something wild that I don't think a lot of people know is that. So during that at bat, you know, first pitch. I mean, I can't even give you that, but the first pitch, you know, a ball. I got myself in a pretty good count, but left on left, the thing about Matt Boyd, sometimes he drops down, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes, he has that slider curveball. But I know it was either going to be fastball, breaking ball, which was good. And so during that at bat, though, I want to say it was like 2 pitches before I hit the home run. ESPN blacks out. ESPN blacked out in the Midwest, or where my parents were watching.
Oh,
so
no.
like ESPN and in Omaha. So ESPN blacks out. I go on to hit the home run, and then it turns back on, and it's me like high-fiving in the dugout. So my parents did not see the home run live.
What?
I personally don't, till this day, I don't have the ESPN version of the home run. I have a camera well video of my home run from like behind me. So like that's kind of that. Not a lot of people know that. So like I had to go into the film room and find it on the cameras that are around the state. And so I still don't have the ESPN version, but I hit the home run. It's in the same spot that I hit my last college home run at that stadium against Nebraska.
Dude.
And I was just put like right in the bullpen, kind of a line drive. So that's when like rounding the bases, I'm like that's identical to where I hit my last college home run against Nebraska. And if anybody doesn't know, Creighton versus Nebraska is like one of the bigger rivalries in college sports when it comes to baseball, because it goes back so far. And yeah, so I found myself just hitting a home run, same spot on my college stadium for my first big league home run.
How could you not be romantic about baseball?
Dude. And
my hairs are standing up, dude.
Yeah, dude. So you said not many people can say they homered in their college stadium. You are actually the only person on the face of the earth ever in the history of the world that can say they hit a major league home run in the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
And just the fact that everything that comes with it and all your ties to the state, to the school, to the ballpark, for you to go out and do that, especially a guy that like, you're not known for your big power and hitting home runs. Like, you'll do everything else. You're not a home run hitter, and and we'll get into that. And like, but the fact that, and that's my point, is like, you were always a guy that it seemed like the bigger, like if somebody went to Nicky Lopez and said, "Hey, we're going to write a story about this game today," I bet you he has a day and goes off, because that's just who he is. And he has that way of that quiet assassin to him that like, I'm going to show up in these moments. And
yeah,
it was always something I noticed and respected and about you and your game. So I think that story, I think, just says it all, that you weren't a guy that hit home runs. Same spot, same stadium, first like game, freaky, like dude. In Nebraska, in like Major League Baseball, holding a major league game in the state, and you go yard. It was
crazy.
It's poetic. It
was crazy.
It really is. So let's not stop there. Fast forward to your next homer, August 19th. Homer, and then our very own co-host, Nick Dini, follows that up with a back-to-back homer. I mean, fellas, that night had to have been something. I know the film on MLB.com is screens family going nuts, everything. But I mean, the two boys going back-to-back. I mean, what do we have there?
Was that Yanoa?
Yanoa. But dude, you know what's funny now that we're talking about it? I didn't realize you hit your first homer off Matthew Boyd. My first major league hit was off Matthew Boyd, and Nicky was on base. And there's a video of it, my first major league hit. We're in Detroit. It's August. Both teams are having tough years, so like there's nobody in the stands. But like I get this base hit, line drive like through the 6-hole into left. Nicky's on second, and the camera like pans to Nicky like clapping for me, and I'm like clapping back at him off the same guy that he hit that homer. He hit his first homer off of. And then we go to Baltimore, which is like kind of my homecoming. It was the closest that we played to Jersey. So another, late August game, two teams that are kind of in the basement. Nobody's really there. I had like 60 freaking flying paisans that came in, and like Nicky goes yard, And the next pitch I get up, we're hitting 8-9. I come up, hit a home run into the bullpen and left. Ended up being the deciding run. And like, you know, we go out, Nicky knew my family and we had a nice night like in Baltimore. And it's something that I remember. And I just like the ties to, and that's what's awesome, man, is like you go up through the minor leagues doing this with people that you create these awesome bonds and relationships with. And then for us to kind of have that moment together and something that we talk about, you know, every time that we see each other, it's awesome. It's something I never forget.
No, and that home run, like, other than my first home run, obviously it's cool, but like just to see like your family going nuts and like us going afterwards and celebrating it, but also like you said, going up through the ranks and then going back to back, which in the big leagues, which was unbelievable. I think I will never forget that one as well. So that was wild.
And that one too, it was funny because like the camera, like it panned to you, like high fiving everybody in the dugout, and then like you see like like you turn, and then it shows the ball like leaving, and then like so the memories I have of my first hit, my first home run, like you're right there, like in the middle of it, like whether you're on third base or you just got done rounding the pillows yourself, you're out on the top step, like waiting for me. It was awesome. And, something I'll never forget, bro. So it's, what a game. What a game.
Well, so, I think it kind of just speaks to, you know, the relationship that you guys had, that we all have. And it kind of goes past just baseball, because that same offseason, we take an impromptu trip to Vegas, which ultimately leads to Nick Dini, you know, rekindling something with a high school girlfriend and now wife. It was like, dude.
Well, do you want to just introduce Screen so like you can like, it sounds weird calling you like hearing you say Nick Dini, like it's weird. Like just like when the audience hears Screen, they're referring to me.
So
like,
what is Screen? What is Screen?
Screen is the stupidest story I have ever heard. And the nickname is like, it's caught like wildfire, but like the origin of it is absolutely horrendous. We have one of our buddies that we came up through the system with, Nate Esposito, currently coaching at Oregon State. We're playing video games in the hotel really early on in our career. And yeah, so he needs to get, I forget what he needed from Best Buy. So we go to Best Buy and he's asking the Best Buy employee for help. And it turns out like he needed something for his console. And the guy at Best Buy is asking him for his gamer tag or whatever.
I just wanted to play with him. You know?
Well, he had a bad HDMI cord or something. Like it wasn't working.
So
of course he did. Love you, kid, but of course you did.
He goes to Best Buy, and it happened to be like the guy who wanted to like exchange gamer tags with Nate. His gamer tag was Neo Scud. So we started calling Espo Scud. And then he got like annoyed that we were just like abusing Scud. So he just started calling me the Dean Screen. And I don't know how the two correlate whatsoever, but
because his screen wasn't turning on, so he just probably called you Screen.
Oh, that's right.
Is that it? Because I've only heard it up to this point.
Yeah. So he started calling me the Dean Screen.
Sense.
And then now it's just like everybody that was affiliated with Kansas City from the years of like 2016 to 21 calls me Screen. So that's the intro to Screen. Jake, stop saying Nick Dini. It's weird and I hate it. So he wanted.
I think we need to touch on this Vegas trip, because
we absolutely do.
It's a huge part of our Nick Screen's life, especially, but all of our lives. Nicky, do you remember how this went down?
I do. So I do remember, but that whole day was a blur because we settled this over some bottomless mimosas at R&R in Scottsdale. I remember it was like the first couple. I mean, it had to have been like the first couple of weeks of.
I think it was
off season.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I think it was.
It had to be the second, bro. It was October.
Early October. I want to say.
Yeah, and I remember that because there's still playoff ball on. There's college football coming on or whatever. And I remember we went to R&R with Allie and Sydney, and we found ourselves with bottomless mimosas that, I mean, they could have put whatever in our cup, and we were just down in it. And we just came up with this idea that, hey, we should go to Vegas. And so I remember calling my dad because he knew someone at Caesars. I was like, hey, would you be able to get us, yada, 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 next weekend? And he was like, yeah. So then, you made the call to screen, and you can touch on that if you want.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we were blasted. Let's be honest.
We were gone.
I don't think I've had a mimosa to this day.
I haven't.
No, it was 5 years ago. I mean, I still can't even look at one. I think I found myself in the Casamigos bathroom somewhere on a saddlebag after the fact. But yeah, we call up screen and we're like, dude, like we're going to Vegas next weekend, like fly out. Obviously, just finished up his first big league season. He's got a little more cash, and he's like, absolutely. But he's like, I need to bring a girl. And screen, I think you should touch on how that conversation. Then we can kind of get back.
Yeah.
To the weekend.
So they're at R&R. I'm actually on the pier in Hoboken. So that off season, I got a apartment in Hoboken with a couple of high school buddies. So we're like running amok ourselves early in the off season, and I get a call from them too, and they're like they said, they're whacked. Yo, we're going to Vegas next weekend, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. They'll like twist my arm, and they tell me they're going with Jake's wife, Nicky's girlfriend at the time, now wife. So I was like, all right, I got to find somebody. And like I said, I had, a little bit of liquid courage, and I had just finished my first little call up to the big league. So I'm like, you know what? It's a good time to take a shot. It's a good time to take a shot.
Great time.
My wife currently, at the time, we had dated in middle school, and kind of curbed me like all through high school. And like she was just the girl that I couldn't quite get on board. So all these years pass. We go to high school. She's does her thing. I do my thing. Go off to college. She's like out doing whatever. So I hadn't seen her in years. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I shoot her a DM and I say nothing other than, hey, hope all is well. Do you want to go to Vegas next weekend? That was it.
Wow.
That was it.
That's awesome.
I mean, dude, I would, like you just said, I was on top of the world. I had a couple drinks in me. I knew I had played in the big leagues recently. So I'm like, I got a little pathos to me.
Absolutely.
I'm like, let me go. So she answers the DM. We start talking. We go through, the optics of it. It's like, yeah, you don't worry about nothing. We're leaving Thursday.
Oh, God,
we're going to go to Arizona. We're going to drive to Vegas. So we ended up spending the weekend in Vegas with you two and your wives. And we ended up having a great time. And fast forward to today, married. We have a little baby boy, and all because of that Vegas trip gave me the courage. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, dude, it is really wild. It's wild. And shout out to Nicky, because we decided to drive there and back as a unit, which was so much fun going out there.
It was a debacle coming back.
Oh my God. And talk about like the ride home, a lot of it is predicated off of, do we have any sort of success or do we not? And I mean, you want to talk about getting taken to the woodshed. It was just it was a bloodbath. Like just,
well, we decided not to leave Caesar's Palace to gamble, and we just kept taking it from this guy. He just kept taking our money, and it was just, man, that was tough.
Yeah, it was tough. I think too, it was such a perfect weekend in terms of like how everybody kind of gelled, which was a credit to Jess. But like not being able to leave Caesars was kind of predicated on, it's like, okay, this is a couples thing. We all kind of want to like hang out together and like have a good time. And it was almost like we were like, I mean, I know I was like kind of sneaking away. It's like, oh, you got to get ready. You got to put your makeup on. It was like an hour. It's like, boys, let's go downstairs now. And it was like, press it. And none of us did.
Go get
yourself some Truly.
Yeah, that was the quote of the weekend. Go get a Truly. Shall we?
Gentlemen, shall we?
Gentlemen. No, it was awesome, man. It was an awesome trip, and kind of like cultivated is that the word, cultivated or culminated?
Absolutely. Either or.
Either or. Okay.
I'll accept either.
A solid. It was just a good year.
Culmination.
Culmination. But no, it was awesome, and it kind of just spoke to the bonds, the friendships that we created, and there's memories that we have made that last a lot longer than baseball. And that's what I'll say.
I think most of our memories that we've made, we've all met because of baseball, but just going through, and I don't know if a lot of people know this or the audience know this, but like going through minor league seasons, like you have to do stuff away from the field to like just stay. Like, and we found ourselves in, singing karaoke on Tuesday nights on Dixon Street. Found ourselves taking, was it a thumbs up? Whose thumbs up?
Yeah, what was that?
I loved it. Just keep it. Was
that you?
No, I think that was an L, but it looks great.
Was that me? My bad. We found ourselves doing like the oyster shooters in New Orleans, going to that casino. Wasn't there a casino there?
Oh yeah. Anywhere there was a casino, we found
think
ourselves taking a trip. Like
I think Nola though was kind to the group, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was.
It was.
Other than my weight strength coach threatening to kill me in front of my parents, but other than that, we're good.
Phil Falco, what a legend. He wasn't actually threatening Nicky.
No,
it was
wasn't.
more like a joke. But,
it was a joke. But
A&L, if you don't hit that 16, I'm going to kill. Or no. The story is hilarious because Nicky was like, what?
My parents are in town in
New
Orleans, and we all go to dinner right after the game. We're feeling good, and then we go to the casino, and sure enough, a couple of our coaches and our strength coaches there, and I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not crushing in the weight room, and so I remember at the blackjack table, and my parents are right there, and Phil Falco comes up, and God, I love Phil Falco, and he just looks at my parents and goes, love your kid, great kid, but if he doesn't lift tomorrow, I'm gonna kill him. Just straight to my parents, and my parents are like, first time meeting Phil, and he's like, hi, I'm Phil Falco, just shakes their hand and walks off. Oh, it was great.
Yeah,
like, he's not gonna kill me.
And to your parents' credit, like they get it, like it's like they know it's like a professional setting in a sense, and like not really sure what to expect from this guy, and he like drops it on him. And to their credit, they're just like, yeah, okay, like very nicely.
Yeah, my sweet mother's like, oh, okay.
Oh, the best.
Yeah, that was awesome. And it's like, so just for the audience, like when you're at the lower level of minor leagues, it's like you have to lift. Like, okay, like you have to get these, or else there's like, there is a script. That's a really clean way to put it. When you get to, I would say AAA even more so.
Yeah, AAA,
it becomes more like, hey, you're a pro, you've done it, you've been there. Mm-hmm. You kind of do what you have to do. And for you being that guy that's playing 6 days a week, like in the middle of, June or whatever the hell whenever the time was, it's like you're exhausted. Like the last thing you want to do is like get a lift in, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you'll find your time. You're kind of going off what your body's telling you. So it's just funny because like to preface that story, like Phil would always, like if a guy hadn't lifted like in a while, he would just come in and like to the clubhouse and let everyone know, guys, the weight room is open. It is free admission, no cost whatsoever. We have this, and this to offer. And he would just so like kind-heartedly like come in and be like, hey, Nicky, do you want to lift today? No, okay, no problem. So just like kind of prefacing that story because it was hilarious when I'm gonna kill him.
We're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's so great, dude.
Yeah,
so
it was awesome, man. And like we said, just the stories. And I, as you know, Nicky, I'm kind of, in the development and doing, I work with a lot of young kids, and I stress the importance of like fun at a young level of baseball. And I think, being able to hear this kind of stuff, it goes to show kids that, enjoy these moments with your friends, because like when we sit here and we chop it up, whether it's my wedding or your wedding or just an impromptu trip where we're all getting together, it always just, we get away from that part of it and we just focus on our friendships, our relationships, and the relationships that we've developed over the years because of baseball, but there's so much more to it than that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt.
But kind of to get back into baseball, because there's a couple like really interesting things, and I talked to you about, or I told everybody how I feel the bigger the game or the higher the stakes, like you just get the best version of Nicky Lopez. So you go from last year, you're in Kansas City to start the year. You kind of hear all these trade talks, and your name is out there, and you might be a guy that the Royals are looking to maybe get a little younger, or they're not in a position to win. So it's like, hey, we're going to, see what these younger guys behind you got. So you become a guy that's at the forefront of these trade talks. So you go from a team in Kansas City who, still trying to work their way out of this rebuild and into a competitive state, which they are in this year.
Yeah.
So you go from that team and you're traded to the Atlanta Braves, who at the time is the best team in baseball, right? So you get traded over there, and you're a guy with the Kansas City who's playing 4 or 5 times a week, different spots, super utility. And, you've told me this story off air, and I just want you to share this, but like, I want you to talk about going from a team that's kind of in that transition stage to a team in Atlanta who it's like, hey, we're in win now. Like, it's kind of World Series or bust. I want you to talk about the transition from like the atmospheres in the clubhouse to the first meeting that you had with Brian Snicker, and just the overall, energy surrounding a team that has World Series hopes.
Yeah. I mean, so what was that? That was last year. So 2023. Yeah. So I found myself, playing here and there, but like you said, they're transitioning, the front office is transitioning, the team's transitioning to younger, trying to get, which I can't fault them for, but it was one of those things where I'm in arbitration. I'm trying to, play and build some numbers or, and stuff like that. So I thought, maybe this might be the time where I do get traded. And you always hear every single year, because whether you like it or not, when you're in arbitration, you're expendable. You have year-to-year contracts unless you sign a multi-year contract. You go year to year, so that there's a chance that you can get traded. And so I knew, there was talks that I was going to get traded. And the funny thing is, though, is I don't know if you guys remember, but like a week before I did get traded, there was like this article that came out that the Giants, it was like Nicky and the Giants. So I was like, oh, am I going to go to San Fran? I was like, I didn't know much. It was one of those things like you just got to go and keep playing. And I remember I played first base that game. I started at first. That was my
awesome.
That was my last game in Kansas City. I was playing first base, and so I come in the locker room, and they called me in, and it was the whole front office, and they're like, hey, we just traded you. Thank you for everything. And, it's been a wild ride. And I was just thanking them. And then we're just like, where are we going? And, cause they didn't start with where I was going. It was, yeah.
I've been like, time.
Cut. Yeah. Cut.
So I was like, where are we going? And they're like, we traded you to the Atlanta Braves. And at that point I was like, when they said that I was getting traded, there was a little sadness, obviously, because I got drafted in 2016. This is 2023. I've been in the organization for a while, and I'm like, I've made so many good friends. I love this organization. I know it's a business and it's time to move on for right now, but they said the Atlanta Braves, and I quickly was like, man, I'm in the thick of it now. Like I'm
let's go.
I can't feel too sad anymore. Like we gotta be ready. So I get traded. We only get a day to pack. Thank God for Sydney. She packed up her whole apartment. I had to go, and right when I get to Atlanta, and this is why I love Atlanta. They're one of the more transparent front offices. They were so transparent to me. I walk in, I go to Snit. He sits me down and is like, hey, we're super, happy to have you here. He has a lot of Kansas City ties. Like, a lot of people talk really highly of you. Super happy to have you here. He's like, but we play the same guys every single day. Be ready if your name is called. I was like, all right. So I didn't play for 2 weeks. But I used that. I didn't feel bad or anything. I used that as, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna go watch Acuna take BP. I'm gonna watch, Riley and Olsen. I'm gonna go and work with Wash every single day. And I didn't see the field for 2 weeks, which was wild.
And then, but fast forward to when you do see the field for the first time in that 2 weeks, which highlight how I want to highlight this, because this was kind of my role, especially a lot early in my career, was like kind of, a backup catcher role to where like you're getting at bats here and there. So it is like when you're not getting at bats every day, especially, and I really, at the big league level, it's one thing in the minor leagues. At the big league level, it's a completely different beast. Like you need at bats to like get yourself going. Where you don't play for 2 weeks, right? You get traded over. You don't play for 2 weeks. You go to New York, the Big Apple, and I just want to. I want to.
First time there.
First time in New York. Welcome. How'd you like it? Smells like shit, but it's an amazing city.
Take it easy, Brandon.
So, all right, real quick, but you're going to hear us like reference Entourage a lot. That's kind of been something that has like really bonded us, is like how many times we watched Entourage.
Oh yeah.
But getting back to it, you go 4 for 5. You go 4 for 5 with 5 steaks and a homer, and then you close the game out to boot after 2 weeks of sitting and watching and observing. So there's a couple of layers to this. Number one, I want you to talk about how good did that feel to kind of like, that's almost got to feel like a welcome to the team moment, right? Because you kind of sit around for 2 weeks and it's like, I'm on the team. Everybody like makes me feel like I'm part of the team, but like something internally, just like, I want to feel like I'm contributing to what this team is doing. So that's number one. And then number two, I want you to talk about how you go about preparing yourself on a day-to-day basis, knowing you're not playing, but being ready for when your number is called.
Yeah, no. So no, you're right. I mean, I didn't play for 2 weeks. But like you said, like I was just there, and I felt like I was like, am I gonna play? Am I gonna feel like I'm a part of a team? And I mean, sure, I'm there, and people know I'm there, but it was like, these guys truly play 162 of 162. Like they want to play 162, and I mean, you guys know there's sometimes there's guys in lineups or on teams that they're fishing for off days. Like they don't want to play if they're 0 for their last 5 or 10. They're trying to get an off day to kind of just chill. And these guys don't care if they're 0 for 10 or 10 for 10. They want to play. And so I was there, and I'm like, man, like it's been 2 weeks. And the only reason why I did play was because we had a doubleheader. Like if there wasn't a doubleheader, then I don't even know when I would have played. So I find myself playing the first game of the doubleheader. I was playing short. They were giving RC a day off, or a game off, and my first at bat, I remember I think I get to 2 strikes pretty quickly, work into a good count or whatever, and then I hit a left center double, and I was like, man, like it was one of those games where after the game, like your phone is blowing up, but like it's one of those that you sit down in your locker and you just don't move, and you're like, I can't believe that just happened. And it wasn't one of those that I can go and like after that and go get like dinner, because we had another game. Like I was like, all right, I got to snap back into it and go and watch 9. And so it was one of those. And I remember Danny Mendick. I love Danny Mendick. He's a teammate of mine right now. He came in to pitch, and that's where I got the home run too, just to kind of cap it off. And then I came in to pitch the 9th. There's made history, all that stuff. But it was one of those, like I said, it was like, I cannot believe that just happened. But to go to your point though, and kind of a learning lesson, to young fans and viewers, it's, if I didn't take those 2 weeks when I got traded to the Braves, like seriously, and I was just kind of acting like I'm just there and not putting in the work every single game. And this is what the Braves do an unbelievable job at. Their assistant hitting coach takes the guys that aren't playing and brings them into the cages and works with them hitting, works with off the machine, does ankle drills, does arm, does whatever you want. They're always accessible to you. And that was one thing that we did on a daily basis. Every 5th or 6th inning, we would go in there, we would hit, we would work on things. Hey, try this. Hey, try this with your grip or your hands. And then every single day before games, I was working with Wash, whether it was at third, short, second. He would take me around the diamond. So I was in a full sweat before games. But I didn't play for 2 weeks. But if I didn't do that stuff to prepare me for when my name was called, I don't think I have the game that I did or the success. And then game 2, and it just works in like crazy ways. Game 2, Ozzy gets hurt, pulled his hamstring. So now I went from 2 weeks of not playing to finding myself in the everyday lineup for 2 weeks. And so it was like, man, all this work that I did put in, now this is what it's for. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was wild.
That's a great story of adversity and just kind of like sticking through it. And it's not the first time that you had to go through something like that in your career. If we rewind the clock back to 2021, coming off your first 2 full seasons, 19 and 20, and you come into spring training. I remember talking to you in the offseason a little bit about, what you were trying to do with your swing in the offseason. You were trying some new things. You were really trying to revamp your swing, right? In that 2021 offseason?
Well, 2020, I had the worst season of my big league career, but it was the COVID year. We could put all those.
Yeah,
I don't think you put much stock into really anything in the COVID year. It was just such a weird year, so you kind of just like. Anyway, I know you did. I know you did. It's easy for me to say I was playing at an alternate site. It's like,
but you were going through that. You're going through that swing change, coming to spring training in 2021, and you really kind of go through it, right? That spring training. And ultimately, you get the news at the end of spring training that you're going to get optioned down, and probably at the time had to have been like a kick in the nuts, really, because first time you get an option down. Then Mondesi gets hurt. I think like
the last game
or like before, the last game, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you got to get out to Kansas City. Like now we need you. Like go like. What did you do mentally to kind of go off? Because you went off that season, hit 300. The only shortstop in Royals history to hit 300. I mean, you go from a guy that gets sent down out of camp to now you're putting up historic numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been, and it's not one of those stories where it's like, I've always been the guy that kind of counted out. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm one of the smaller guys. I'm not like physically gifted like a lot of guys. So like, but one thing I do know is that, one thing I've found out, you have to do what you do best and you have to perfect it. So like what I've perfected in this game is, or not perfected because it's a hard game, but what I've, pinned my hat on or hang my hat on is defense and stuff like that. Playing the small game right. I'm not an OPS guy, the WRC whatever is not. But so I was that off season. I was like, you know what? Like I need to try to, hit for a little bit more pop. I know it's in there, trying to work on path and trying to work on, swing changes and all the stuff that you see people talk about. And, should I have done that? Probably not. But I worked really hard that off season because I shouldn't try to lift the ball. What I'm saying, I shouldn't try to, because that's not the type of player I am. But yeah, like 3 days before the plane takes off to Kansas City.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we might have lost you, NL. Let me just pause it real quick. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty. But NL, you want to continue on with where you were headed?
Yeah, so I are you guys delayed?
Yeah. No, you're good. You sound great.
You guys are delayed on mine.
Oh.
Like it's like an echo.
Oh, we don't want that. Wait, hold on. It says there's 4 hosts. So there shouldn't be.
There's an anonymous watcher. I was just looking at that too.
Oh,
wait, better?
Good?
Better
Yeah,
now.
we're
Yeah,
good?
we're good now. We're good now.
You good?
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Terrific.
So you-
Yes. So I had revamped my swing. I went in and I don't think I didn't do well that spring training, and so 3 days before Kansas City took off to go to Kansas City, I got optioned, and it was definitely a kick to the face. It was one of those that like you never see it coming until it happens, and so for those 3 days, I didn't necessarily feel sorry for myself, but I didn't do anything. Like I didn't go to camp or anything. I would just go to the backfields, hit for an hour and a half, and then leave. Like I didn't pick up a ball, I didn't throw a ball, I didn't take any grounders. I just went and hit, and so. I found myself waiting, and they already took off, and 2 days before opening day, they text me. Actually, it might have been a day. Yeah, 2 days before opening day, they text me and called me, and I remember waking up at like 7:30 to some missed calls from JJ, and they're like, "We need to get you to Kansas City. Mondi got hurt," and so I quickly thought I was going to go to AAA, and then now I'm in the big leagues again. Opening day starting at shortstop, and so it was a kind of a whirlwind, and now it was one of those like, all right, let's just go in there and compete, and I really have nothing to lose. Like they optioned me already, like let me, and I went on to having a career year, which was wild.
And it's funny you say that. I just want to jump in real quick because that was the year after the COVID year. So there was like a taxi squad for people that don't know. And I was somebody that was on the taxi squad. So I would legitimately work out before the game. I would go out to the bullpen in turf shoes and just catch bullpens. Could not enter the game, was not on the active roster, but I was in the stadium and I'm watching from the bullpen. And you talk about, I'm trying to lift the ball all off season and kind of revamp what I do. And you alluded to the fact that there was kind of this moment that you had internally where you're like, I want to just do what I do best and perfect it. And I think that's a massive, massive point because you're a run scorer. You're somebody that does, the little things that has a place in an offense. It can't just be a lineup full of guys that are homer or bust. Like there has to be players like you that are setting the table, moving runners, going first to third, doing those little things that score runs and ultimately win games. And I remember your first at bat, you get up and you drop a dime of a bunt down. You beat out the throw, base hit, infield knock, and I just see you because like we're in the right field bullpen, and so you get through first base and you just give yourself one of these, and I'm watching it, and it just looks as if it was like, this is who I fucking am.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And it was like, and it was awesome to see. And it's like that moment right there, it was like, no wonder you propel yourself to go hit 300 and be the first person in the history of that organization to do it. It almost looked as if like that demotion and those days that you had to like just be with yourself and like what happened this spring, it was kind of like this, what am I doing? Like I got to do what I do and what got me here. And I think a lot of times, and I'm a victim of this myself of like, and I'm sure Jake, you can speak to it as well, but like trying to be somebody that you're not. Like you've had success doing what you've done. Like I just have to keep getting like perfecting what it is that I do, because what it is that I do is good and it's good enough. And your 2021 season was evidence of that. And that first hit and my memory of it, like I think it just like encapsulates everything that you experienced that season and the success that you had.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I feel like we're all kind of victims of it. We're trying to, do things that we hear all over social media, and there's so much outside noise that like, oh, this guy doesn't hit the ball hard, or the exit velo, or the like I said, the OPS or the WRC, whatever. I don't even know like some of that stuff. Like I just go and play a ball game and try to do what I can to help the team win, whether it's making a diving play, turning a clutch double play, putting on a hit and run, or putting down a sack bunt. But like you said, like I'm not a guy who's going to leave the yard 30 times, and if I'm going to try to do that, then I'm doing myself a disservice. Like I'm not. It's going to be a short-lived career. So I've gotten better at kind of blocking out that outside noise, not looking at, the exit velo radar guns and all that stuff. But what can I do in this situation when I'm up to bat to help my team, be successful? And I feel like you said, there's always a place for a guy who can, play multiple positions at a high level, can handle a bat, and in 21, it might have just took me, to get slapped in the face a little bit to realize that, hey, like what you do and why you got called up is good enough, and you don't have to try to do too much. And in 2022, like I started playing, here and there, weaning off of playing, and then I started becoming a utility guy, and then but like now, like I'm finding myself playing every single day with the White Sox, and I'm not trying to worry about, like the OPS and all that stuff. I'm just trying to get on base whenever I can. I'm trying to play good defense and be, one of the leader on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important for anybody listening that's tuning in to try and get better and learn from Nicky. And I think it's important that that you did try that. You went out and you're saying, I'm going to explore something to see if I can better myself. We all try and do it as players. Like, okay, if I could just, for me as a pitcher, if I could just gain like 2 or 3, how do I do that? And you go out and you explore it, and then you kind of like hit, hey, like that's just not what I do. And being able to recognize that is something that as players is really important, because like what you can do on the field is good, and knowing that you can just say, hey, you know what? I got to drop this. It's not for me. I got to go back to who I am. And then that just reassurance, like you go out and dominate. And you're like, yep, like I know this is good enough. Yeah. So I think it's a really good point that you hammered on, man. It's really good stuff.
Because it's a trade-off, right? It's like, hey, I'm a 300 hitter. Like, because that's what you were like in your minor league career. Like you're you're over a 300 hitter. And it's like, okay, like I'm going to try to hit for more thump. And then it's like, okay, well, what am I really, right? Am I a guy that's going to hit? Like, if I hit 5 home runs a year, I'm going to try to hit more home runs a year. Now, at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, do I lose my identity and what I do well in the chase and pursuit for more home runs? And then it's like, what's the give and take? So it's like, okay, I gotta figure that out for myself. You know what I mean? So, and I say to kids all the time, and there's a time where you try to explore, but you always have what you do well, like go back to. And so like, there's times where you can explore, but you want to have, your identity and what you do well and understand that. So
and that's why ultimately it's a team. That's why it's the team game. Like you touched on, it's not, you can't have a lineup full of those guys who are striking out, 200 plus and putting the ball in the seats like 35 times. You can't do that. So that's why there's a lot of, intangibles a guy can bring to a team, a lot of different, aspects a guy can bring to a team. And it's not all about just kind of leaving the yard in my,
I agree, because I think you look at lineups, right? They have to be comprised of run scorers and run producers. Mm-hmm. And like, you need run scorers. So like, you're that guy. And before we move on we have this segment called the post-game presser, just quick hitting questions. I really want the person you are, when you say like you want to do anything and whatever it takes to win, like that is true to the core. I think a lot of people say that, but don't truly mean it. I think you are a player that exemplifies that and truly, truly means that he will do whatever it takes to win. And you are a winning ball player. So,
appreciate it.
Yeah, we proud of you, dude. We're proud to watch
you,
dude, and continue to do it at the big league level, man. It's awesome to see.
Thank you guys. No, I appreciate it.
It's part of my morning routine. You guys wrap up like when I wake up. You guys are just wrapping up or mid game, and it's always box score check. Got to see how the kid's doing. So
I appreciate it.
It's one of my, honestly, dude, because I'm all the way out here, and sometimes I feel like I don't know where the hell I am. I don't know what's going on back home, and it's like, you know what, a little bit of comfort. Let's check in and see how it's going. But dude, this is like Nick and I's brainchild. Nick really brought it. came up with this. It's called the post game presser. It's like quick hitter questions that but I think we're gonna take our time with it because I think that both Nick and I can kind of add in on some of these answers, in our experiences. But let's just hit the first one, and that's favorite minor league city.
Oof. Favorite minor league city. To be honest, we had a ton of fun on Dixon Street.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
oh my God!
There was so much to do in Northwest Arkansas. Well, I mean, it was right next to Fayetteville, so like we would just go to Fayetteville every single. I mean,
opportunity
Monday.
that we got. The opportunity.
I mean, dude, call it what it is. I think we dominated Dixon Street in
Monday
the summertime. At least that's the way I saw it.
Monday was Grubs. Tuesday was
JJ's, I think. No, Tuesdays
Wednesdays
was
JJ's.
Yeah, Wednesdays with JJ's. Wow, the karaoke scene.
Yeah,
Electric.
great karaoke scene. I would put that up there. I really liked. I mean, so NOLA was different only because it had nothing to do with the baseballs. It was nothing.
Well, the baseball was horrible.
Horrible there.
Horrible.
You're playing
It was fun because we went to why am I blank? Bourbon. We went to Bourbon Street and had a nice day at Bourbon Street. And what was good about that, like at that time, the format was different. So it was like we were there for 3 days and got out. Where like if you're there for a week,
could you imagine?
That'd be miserable.
I feel like that trip in general is like two separate trips because you weren't NOLA, like Bourbon Street's like a good 25 minutes away, 30 minutes away from where we were staying, like next to the airport in Airlie. And that hotel, I mean, I think it needs everything because it's like stains and nasty
cockroaches.
But Bourbon was like its own
I never played in Vegas, never played in Reno.
Reno, it's okay.
What?
Well,
what?
The tables were hot, but it's like.
But yeah, I never played
it's like asking any ball player, what's your favorite ballpark? Wait, let me go look where I hit 500. Let me guess. That's your favorite ballpark to play in. What's my favorite place to go to? Where are the cards hot? Where am I winning money? At that time, we're making $700 every friggin' month. And it's like we go on a banger and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. That's another story. Jeez. Anyway, Reno's great. Let me ask you this. Never mind, actually. Because
I want to know where Nashville is on this list.
Oh my God, Nashville.
I was gonna say, I think this crew had some times.
I think that's 1-1. Nashville might be 1-1.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah, well, it's different because like Fayetteville's a home field, like a home spot. So like that was by far, and in my time with the Royals, that was by far the best spot, like in the Royals system. But I mean, you go to Nashville, it's like
Nashville's fun.
How about real quick, give the people a little insight. Take us to breakfast with my mom and dad.
Milk and honey. We go to Milk and Honey, which is like the best. I love that breakfast spot. Great spot. Right in the Gulch. If you ever been to Nashville, right in the Gulch, and we're there, and we're at breakfast. Probably it was more like brunch, like 10:30 to maybe it was like 11:30, whatever.
It was before noon. It was before noon.
For sure before noon. And your parents were in town, and your mom and dad came and ate, and your dad ordered a Woodford, right? Your dad,
yeah, he's like, I'm in Nashville. He doesn't drink Woodford ever, but he's like, you know what? We're in Nashville. Like, I want a little whiskey bourbon, whatever the hell Woodford is.
We're having a coffee. Like, we just like stumbled in. We just probably woke up, and we're just kind of. This is like a meal before we would go to the field, because like we have like BP and In and Out and all that stuff. And I just remember your dad orders a Woodford, and he's like, "You ever try Woodford? Hey, Nick, try it. Give it a try. I remember you look at your dad.
I can see Vinny doing this too.
Well, he asked him if he wanted a drink. He's like, "Nicky, you want one, Nicky?" And Nicky's like, Vin, no, I'm playing short, and I'm in the leadoff spot in like 6 hours. So maybe after the game. But I'm like, Dad, like, get a fucking clue here,
Yeah,
man.
I remember you smack your dad on the shoulder, like, Dad, he's got to play soon. Like, he doesn't want
Like,
to
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Does he want a Woodford? Ah, man, love him, great guy, but
He's the best, dude. He's the best.
But yeah, we ended up getting a drink after the game, which was good. But it was at 11:30 before the game.
Yeah, it's like he's out
Well,
of his
I think
mind.
we need to. I think just take a quick second to kind of go over dinner too, because your parents, as Italians go, it's like when you're a friend of the family, you go out, you get dinner, and it's like a whole deal. It's beautiful. And the first night, there's this little spot. There's this little spot like next to the field at Nashville. It's like a German brat house, something like that. Anyway, it's just close by. So we go there after the game, and the food was not very good. And like you could just tell, like on screens, on Vinny's face, it's like he's pissed. And we eat, and he like pays the bill, refuses to let anybody pay the bill, and he like looks at all of us. He goes, "We're going out tomorrow night. This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed."
I'm embarrassed.
It's like the next night we go out to dinner before going out, and I know like personally, like your dad orders the entire menu. It's like us three. I think your aunt and uncle are there, mom and dad.
That's crazy,
dude. And he's like forcing food down my throat because you guys are not eating. And it's like, I remember going out to the bar and like couldn't even drink a beer because it's like I am sitting there stuffed full of food.
Well, he's like the classic, like he'll go through spurts. Yeah, I'm on a diet. So he happened to be like on a diet that week. And it's like, Jake, I can't eat this, but I love to watch people eat. So
yeah, I love to watch people eat. I was going to say that. I love to watch people eat.
He's like, I love to watch people eat. It's like, all right, a weird hobby, but all right. Anyway.
Hey, that's awesome.
All right, Nicky, favorite major league city?
Favorite major league city?
No Chicago.
Toronto. Love Toronto.
I've heard
love
great
the
things.
Six.
Never been there. But
Awesome place. It's a little bit of like Europe, kind of like.
I heard very clean, like
very clean, nice people. Stadium is awesome. I've been fortunate enough to play there when they have the roof closed and the roof open, so it was wild. And
what do you prefer?
I liked it when it was open personally, but I love.
Sounds awesome.
I do pretty well there. Like you guys are saying.
There you go.
But no.
If you're wearing a like 1 for 30 at Toronto, I don't think Toronto's
like,
get me the fuck out of here.
Get me through customs now.
Seattle's a good spot too. Just travel there is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, that area, that like summertime, that part of the country is insanely beautiful.
Oh, it's awesome.
Just like,
absolutely.
It's beautiful. But let's
keep rolling through these.
Yeah. So like, give us your most starstruck moment in the big leagues.
We're playing the Angels. And I got a hit through the 6 hole. Actually, I think it was off Tyler Skaggs. So RIP Tyler. But yeah, I through the 6 hole, I get to first base, and Albert Pujols is standing on first base, and he reaches in my back pocket, takes out my positioning card, and puts it in his back pocket. And at this point, I'm like, this is my rookie year. I'm looking, I'm like, dude,
Albert.
I'm like, Albert.
Machine.
So I swear to God, to this day, I tell this story a lot, but I swear to God, I called him Mr. Pujols, and I was like, I think I'm gonna need that back, Mr. Pujols. And he looks at me and goes, "What'd you call me?" And I was like, and I'm like, he's like, you don't need. He's like, call me Albert, and I was like, he's like, you just made your debut like a couple weeks ago, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, I did. And then I asked him the question. I was like, when did you make your debut? And he was like, 2001. And he's like, how old were you? He's like, yeah. He's like, how old were you there? And I was like, I was 6. And he was like, oh my God, I got to retire. And I was like, to this day, I'm like, holy shit. Like this is nuts. I'm talking to Albert Pujols. I'm standing on there's a picture. I'm standing on first base and I'm not even up to his like shoulders. Like that's how big he is.
That's insane.
That's sick.
Wild.
Can I give you another starstruck moment that I figured you were going to go to the baseball route, but I think you'll appreciate this because I know we were starstruck. We're in Oakland, just finished a game at the Coliseum. We take a 40-minute bus ride back. We're staying at, where are we staying?
We're staying in San Francisco.
So we're in San Fran, the Westin in San Fran. We go into the lobby. Now, I alluded to the fact that we talk about Entourage like, I mean, we've watched it every year, multiple times, all the way through.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an answer on the show piece.
Oh, probably, yeah. But we, like, religiously watch it. We get into the hotel after the game, and right to our left is Adrian Grenier, who is Vincent Chase. And I just yell out of, like, we just came off a loss, and we get back. And
that year we lost a lot.
I know, but I'm like the new guy. I'm like, we just lost. You're supposed to be like pissed. We get to the hotel and I'm just like, Vinny Chase? Like we turn around and
give it up for Vince.
And everyone
make some noise.
Back. It's like me, you, O'Hearn, and Cam, and we're like, dude, that was just Vincent Chase. So we're like, yo, go up to your room, put your shit back, like meet back down here. We need to find this guy and ask him if he wants to have a drink. So now you have these 4 like guys in their mid-20s. Like, dude, meeting down in the lobby, trying to hunt down Adrian Grenier to ask him if he wants a drink, and we're like, all right, who's gonna say something if we find him? And we're like, all right, this is what we're gonna ask him, right? So we don't see him down in the lobby. We go outside the hotel. He's sitting right out there with these 2 girls, smoking a cigarette, and we just walk past them. We
didn't have the stones.
We didn't have the stones. We're sitting on the corner. We're sitting on the corner of the street. Like just staring at Vincent Chase, like, yo, how do we go ask this guy to hang out? Somehow he ends up leaving. It just ends up becoming that of us just being like completely starstruck at Adrian Grenier.
Do you remember what you yelled? You didn't yell Vinny Chase. Do you remember what you yelled in the lobby?
Did I say it's Vinny Chase and the Chasers?
Yeah, you Vinny Chase and the
Chasers. I remember you guys calling me, and I'm like,
we FaceTimed you right away.
I was like, gotta go say something. And I'm like talking a big game, like, oh, if I was there, I'm sure if I was there, I would have clammed up too. But,
yeah, dude, it was we very starstruck. That was crazy. It was just something wild. But that machine story, the Albert Pujols,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Like I can't imagine that. Yeah. He was like
wild.
I mean, is what he is, but.
Meeting Ichiro was also.
That's. I mean, yeah,
so yeah. Meeting Ichiro was cool. But other than that, I mean,
you guys like Ichiro and Mitsui so much. Why don't we order them both?
All right, Nicky, what's your coolest piece of memorabilia?
Ooh, I have a pretty good. I have a ton of bats from guys and a ton of jerseys. I want to say. I have an Ichiro to Nicky signed jersey. That's when I met him. It says to Nicky. And then I have an Aaron Judge signed jersey. Like a full he wrote something really, really nice, which was great. Albert Pujols signed bat, Miguel Cabrera signed bat. I just got one from someone and I'm trying I have a McCutchen jersey, which is really cool. I remember just growing up watching.
Yeah, Kutch was the man.
But
I feel like he's slept on.
Yeah, he is absolutely. But I think I gotta say that Ichiro jersey, just because it's.
I mean,
it's Ichiro.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So I have a good man cave coming.
We gotta get that man cave set up. This off season. It's
got a new house. I gotta put some stuff.
I was going to say, it's got to be up on the list of things to do, no?
Absolutely. No, Sydney was, I was, lucky enough, Sydney gave me my own room. We have, her office, my office, gaming area, and then we have guest bedroom and then our master. So I'm an avid gamer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that kind of goes right into the video game. What's our favorite video game?
Call of Duty. Call of Duty. I mean
we rewind to COVID, and it's like we had us 3, and then another buddy, Jordan, who I went to college with. We formed like the ultimate quad, and like that time, for all you Call of Duty people out there, I think the 2020 like shutdown was like, in terms of gaming, was the most epic era of all time.
So good.
Yeah, it's like every night, you do what you need to do, have a drink, whatever it may be, and then it's like, hey, you guys want to get on? Like, let's go. Where are we dropping?
Verdansk.
Where are we dropping?
Verdansk.
Yeah,
Verdansk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right,
Airport?
who is the toughest pitcher you faced?
Oof. Whenever someone asks me this question nowadays, I'm like, everyone's bullpen. I was like,
That's crazy, right?
Every big league
yeah,
bullpen.
dude.
Oof.
Like, so with that being said, dude, do you find it like kind of irritating that people kind of like you kind of find a lot of people like shitting on today's baseball in the terms of like there's only X amount of players that hit 300, like the baseball is so much worse than it ever was, and it's like I don't think people realize, guys, like bullpens are just churning out triple digits with a banger. Like it's like a prerequisite to be a bullpen piece in the big leagues, and it's like you're getting a starter through 5, so you don't really get them that third time through. And then you're getting like a different guy every time the rest of the night who has some sort of filth to them, whether it be velocity or deception and wrinkle. Like, I don't think people realize how hard hitting is today. They just want to use the lazy, oh, hey, baseball is so much worse than it was. And it's like,
and that's the thing is like you're almost like it's almost coming to a point where you want to keep that starter in. At least you're going to see him 3 times, and you just got to try to take your hacks at that. Because you get to a bullpen guy, you're only seeing them 1 inning. They have the biggest thing too is they're all throwing 95 to 100, but they don't use it. But you still have to sit on it, or you still have to stay on it, because if you don't stay on a fastball, there's no chance you're going to even get to it. So they're throwing their sliders at a 60% clip, 70% clip, but then it's like, all right, I'm sitting slider, and you just see fastball go right down the middle, and it's like, well, now what? Now I'm screwed. So, God, if I have to pick one person, I mean, Clase is not fun.
Cutters in at 100. That sucks.
Duran, what the Twins have been.
Oh my God,
they have a 3-headed giant right now with Alcala, Jax, and Duran. I mean, Duran's throwing a splitter at 98, 95, 98, and then he has 103, and then he also now he's throwing a curveball, which is a good, just another thing to throw in the mix. So it's I would have to say maybe Duran.
Yeah, 98 splitters, but the game's worse than it ever was. Like,
that's the thing that bothers me the most. The people that are saying that are the ones that are, like you said, Nicky, their old adage of hitting was like, hey, like let's get to the bullpen. Let's get to the bullpen. Now it's like, I'm
okay.
I'd rather see this guy early. Let's get but anyway, that bothers me, and I'm a guy that I wish I threw harder. Maybe XYZ, but you see it and it's like, no, dude, like these guys throwing now what they're bringing like day in and day out every single night. You're facing a guy that those guys back then are facing once a week. Maybe you're seeing that every night.
Yeah.
So it bothers me. I had to just get that out.
And it doesn't get like it's every, and I tell people this all the time, like, in like the minor leagues, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get 3 hits today. Like, like you could be like, I faced this guy before. It's an easy at bat. Like, I'm probably gonna, get some hits here. Like, or like, I'm okay with like facing this guy and like whatever. But like the big leagues, like you don't have those. You don't.
There's no get off.
There's no get off.
Like,
even guys that you have like future or you have like past success with, like it's still like, he's a big league pitcher. Like he's gonna. And it's stuff like that where the outside noise where they're like, oh, like, how do you not do this or this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, come on now.
Well, not to mention that guy that you faced, maybe a different guy by the time you see him, because he's now with with all the data and the tech. It's like he may have learned a new cutter or a new sweeper or a new splitter or whatever it may be.
So that's the thing is with I'm bringing up Griffin Jax. Like he started 2 years ago. I remember he like came up and he started. He was throwing 90 to 92 with just like a curveball, but that was it. Like it wasn't. It was to hit. I mean, not trying to dog on him, but it was a pretty comfortable at bat. Now he's in the bullpen as a setup guy for the Twins, and he's throwing 98. He's got a added a splitter or changeup, whatever he throws, a slider, and I'm like, 2 years ago, this guy was maybe like a 4 or 5 starter, and it's like now, like, dude, he's one of. I think he might have gotten snubbed from the All-Star game. I think.
Yeah, it's crazy how that's crazy. What they're doing, right? They see a guy, hey, good fastball. Maybe we throw him in the bullpen. He gets an uptick in velocity. His stuff plays up a little bit in short burst. Next thing you know, you look up, he's throwing 98 and adding pitches to his arsenal. It's like the technology, like you alluded to, man. It's crazy. It's crazy what guys are able to do, and I appreciate you giving a little insight into it because I think it's lazy analysis. Just like the game is so like, ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It's lazy. It's lazy. So,
no doubt.
All right, just really quick, favorite casino game. I think we know
blackjack.
All right, 16.
Like blackjack.
16 against the 7. What do you do?
16 against the 7. Oh shit.
Is this the ask the table?
Isn't this one of those that, like, if you stay on 16, you stay on 16?
Yeah.
And I'm a big stay on 16. I'm a big hit on 16. Sorry. I'm a big hit.
Too. Yeah. Me too. I do too.
Give me
I think all three of us are. Yeah.
Can I get another marker?
Please.
Please.
All right.
I mean, everybody knows the answer. We talked about it 7 times throughout the show, but your favorite show to binge?
Entourage. I actually just restarted it, so I'm on season 3.
I know. Dude. We send each other in a group chat little scenes of Entourage.
It's so good. It's so
amazing.
Good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the more quotable ones you can. I mean, we've watched it way too much.
Endless.
It's one of those shows, dude, where like we put it on our bus trips in college, and our college coach like had been there forever and like never seen it, and for whatever reason somebody only had season 2, right? And like we run through season 2 and like it's over, and the coach like he doesn't really say a ton like on the bus. He like stands up, he's like, all right, who's got season 3? Like, where are we at? Season 3. It's like never seen in his life. This guy loved it.
Oh, it's so good.
So if you have not seen Entourage, anybody, like, go watch Entourage. Yeah. But we don't want to take up too much more of your time, Nicky. I know you got to get on a flight today, and this went a little long.
This is a blast, man. I could do this all day.
Get ready because this off season, I think I'm gonna maybe put something together. Maybe we come over. We do like a little Punchin Tickets after dark, something like that. So just be ready.
100%.
Little bottle of red.
A nice bottle of red and some good conversation.
Sorry. Hey, screen. Go ahead.
All right, but Nicky, I just want you to kind of talk about what you're doing now in terms of like what charities are you involved with? What are some things people that are follow you and look to support like you and your career and what you're doing that they can look to be charitable in any way?
Yeah, no, I started Nicky's Number Ones in Kansas City, which helps like the youth, taking care of kids. We helped Operation Breakthrough, which helps the inner city kids there. The YMCA Challenger program, which helps the special needs kids, just kind of give them a day. It was the day at the K at that time. Brought them to the field, kind of take it in and be like, man, this is what it's like to be in the big leagues. And then me and Sid do frequent. We should do more frequently, actually. But we do hospital visits to Children's Hospital, hand out stuff. And actually, we just did our first annual charity softball event here in Chicago. Had 16 teams, 15 players on each team. Wow. Raised a ton of money for local charities. The J-WAG Strong Foundation, which is one of my classmates who died of cancer, and then Anthony went to school with Andy Wisher, who's in the Wisher Foundation. So we donated money to them too as well. So it was a huge success, and that was the first annual. So we're looking to do it again. But other than that, just trying to stay busy in the community. It's not all about baseball, and sometimes when you step out and you see kids battling in hospitals, and you see kids that are, in inner cities or, those with special needs, like it could put a smile on your face to just help them out. And, it puts things in perspective. I'm pissed that I go 0 for 4, but this kid's battling for his life and in a hospital, so it kind of puts things in perspective.
For sure.
Man, that's awesome, dude. You do a lot of things for a lot of people, and you're an awesome ambassador for the game. So we appreciate it. We appreciate your time, man. We hope you have nothing but ultimate success, man, the second half.
Thank you, guys.
Once you get some food and then get ready to jump on that flight.
I appreciate you guys. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely,
Paul,
Nicky.
We appreciate you.
All right.
See you guys, fellas.
All right. Thanks, Nicky.
Peace.